Well, there were some grassroots things going on, sort of in people's houses and little side meetings beginning in January and February of 2014 because of things that had happened in our parish that we felt like we needed to react to. I think OCP sort of grew naturally out of those grassroots movements, and a lot of them coalesced at the time, so that by April we were all talking together and meeting.
OCP started because there were numerous different groups of disenfranchised or disappointed, frustrated, a lot of different kind of feelings that we weren't where we wanted to be as a parish. And so we kind of had a major meeting for the first time, kind of bringing all these groups together. And that was, I think, April 12th, the Saturday of Lazarus, 2014. At that point, when we walked out of that meeting, there was complete harmony and a like-minded vision that was Christ-centered, and people, I think, were all on board. I think as of that day, we unofficially had a parish.
And we wanted a church of ideal size. We felt that the church was so big, with 1,000 families. Ideally, we'd like to create a parish of about 250 families. I think we have about 137 now. A small parish allows you to get involved, and everybody has a sense of knowing and needing each other. So I think these are the things, the elements that we were looking for in a new parish.
Well, on the onset, when they talked about it and so forth, everything was so positive. And of course, my wife thought a dream would come through, is eventually this would happen.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, one, I am the assistant administrator for the diocese. His Eminence, way back in October, asked me to come out here, which I was very reluctant at first. But after I came out here, I fell in love with it. Of course, Chuck took me to the Mormon temple on the first day, and that was an enjoyable event because I felt like a bull in a china cabinet. It was a nice experience. Then I started to meet the people here.
Well, Paulette and I were married in the Orthodox faith 44 years ago at Holy Trinity. And then we raised our family in the church, and they were baptized, and she would go to church on Sundays, and I would stay home and watch football. I think it was kind of the typical. Then we kind of, when the kids were raised, we decided to get more involved in the church and started going to Prophet Elias, and got to know Father Michael quite well and loved him. And then he actually baptized me just a few years ago. And so I've only been an actual member in the church for about the last 3 years. And then we just kind of...
Less.
2?
2 years and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, 2. Yeah. And so we kind of got involved with the group that decided we wanted to create our own parish, and it really jazzed us, and we were excited about it, to be part of something that was grassroots and new, and it just fit so well for us, didn't it?
It did. And the camaraderie, the people, it's just the close feeling, the love. It's just amazing.
I was looking for something to make me feel more at home. I miss my family, I miss Buffalo, and I went to the Mission Parish, and I started going every week and felt that sense of belonging, that sense of family, that sense of home, an Orthodox home, and putting aside politics and all these other worldly things, I found that there. And in essence, that's what we're striving to do and be as Orthodox Christians, like the big Orthodox.
I'm an electrician. What do you want to know about me?
Okay, well, tell me how you got involved.
In church?
Yeah, in this parish.
Through my wife and through Chuck. So Chuck found out I was an electrician. Your dad came, asked me if I'd be interested in donating some time and perhaps overseeing or at least giving some ideas. And the ideas became fact, and I found myself alone doing the work with help from the parishioners.
Tell me a little bit about yourselves. Yeah, you can just start with your names.
You. Okay, I'm Elena. Victoria. My favorite food is broccoli.
Favorite food is broccoli, huh? Yeah.
Victoria, and my favorite food is mac and cheese.
The OCP Steering Council was a group of people who were nominated from the Assembly, and I was honored and really privileged to be chosen president of that group as far as the Steering Council goes. And we had an incredibly efficient process to get us in 4 months or something like that to an actual officially recognized parish. And we had unbelievable people. The people were, that steering committee was the best group of people I've ever worked with. I was honored to be a part of it.
We felt that the natural thing to do was to help form some kind of a new parish. People may not remember me saying this, but since Elizabeth and I moved here in the late 80s and became part of the Greek Orthodox community in the early 90s, we've been saying, how come there aren't 5 Greek Orthodox churches here in Salt Lake? And you know, I think we're the start of that. We're the start of a new era in Salt Lake City.
The church in the closet. Okay, once we became officially a parish, a mission parish, we needed a place to be. We located a reception center in Midvale called The Woods, and every morning a group called the Sexton Ministry Team would show up, about 18 members strong, and we would convert the place from a reception center into theater seating for a church, and then convert it back to a place for reception for coffee hour. And all of our church equipment was stored in a very small closet. We had hollow core doors that we pinned together and hung iconography on. We had windows that we covered for privacy with nice stained glass film. The whole setup, we got it down to about 35 minutes. And we had beautiful coffee hours outside in the patio. It served our needs very well. And then we were in a place with, we couldn't compete with the weddings that were occurring during Friday and Saturday, so that's why we were forced to look for another place.
Happy to say that everyone pitched in. Everyone did their share of building this new mission and have it flourish and grow. And then, of course, St. Thomas More allowed us to come in here, and like I said, on Lazarus Saturday when I walked in here after I arrived, I said, uh-oh, we're not going to make it. And by the grace of God, it was a miracle that overnight all this was done.
Yes, I was the chairman of the real estate committee, and our task was to find a suitable semi-permanent home for the church. And we were coming into a lot of frustration. We looked at all kinds of properties. All of them had shortfalls, not enough parking, rent too high. We had a budget of about $100,000 for occupancy costs. Rents were too high, spaces were too big or too small. They were in commercial zones, strip malls and such on State Street. In fact, the most promising one, which unfortunately, well, fortunately for us, we didn't do business on that place, is it was next to the restaurant known as Hooters. And so some fine ladies in our community expressed their displeasure at that location, and we kept looking.
Well, of course, there were always prayers and thoughts and talk back and forth, and we were looking at various and sundry locations that primarily were in strip malls. I know there's still people that regret that we're not next to Hooters. However, there was sort of a opportunistic event in which Chuck Karpakis and Pete Vietti had a conversation one day, and I'm sure Chuck can fill you in with more details, but they had a conversation about the need for a location, And it turned out that this parish was open to that possibility because of their situation and all of their empty space. We started exploring that a little bit further, met with Father John Evans, and thank God everything worked out. Almost like every door was open to us, and not by human hands.
The build-out was an incredible, intensely productive couple of months. You know the story of how we got the space. Chuck and Pete Vietti talked, and all of a sudden we had a space on a parish campus, and the St. Thomas More Parish has been extraordinarily welcoming and helpful in everything we did. But we, Jim Derby drew up some plans within a week or two. We submitted them to the city, got them through, got them approved, started construction, I believe, on about March 3rd, and our goal was to be in the space worshiping on Saturday of Lazarus, April 4th. And we made it because there was so much hard work put in by the parishioners. It amazes me how so many people who really didn't have any construction experience were so productive. We really only use professionals. We use professionals to frame, to drywall, to paint, and that's about it. All the tile, flooring, electrical was done primarily by volunteers. It was incredible, and it was fun too. And the ladies during that time, this was during Lent, and we would have maybe 3 or 4 people on a job site during the weekdays. They always brought food for about 20, and so we were well fed, and it was a real pleasure. We were incredibly productive, and we made our deadline against all odds, but we did it. The few people who were very skilled, Fred Pankey comes to mind, the Karpakis brothers come to mind, and many others, Joe Varanakis, they were incredible. They put people who didn't know much into a productive setting, got so much done, it was phenomenal. Thank God.
So I celebrated the first liturgy here in this church. And I call it a church because this is what we've done. We've made a home for ourselves. Even if it's a temporary home, it's a home that brought people together with joy and happiness.
Camaraderie. The common interest of the survival of our faith, personal faith.
The people are so friendly and so appreciative that everybody likes each other. It's just a positive situation, and the all English is just outstanding.
Well, and I
It's been
remember this
emotional.
room,
Very
Peter,
emotional.
when we first came in here, it was just this warehouse. I remember helping some of the other parishioners help build this. It was exciting for me to be part of that whole thing. And, I mean, I feel like I belong here because it just is, everyone's new, and it's new for everyone. We're all on the same, on the same
Even
place.
starting at the woods, we've come so far, and it's been a big thing.
Well, and the word mission, it feels like it has been a mission because of what we have, like she says, at the woods, and what we had to go through and put things up every week. And we just, every month it seems like something new happens, and now we have a new priest coming, Father Anthony, and so we're moving. It's just an exciting thing to be part of. I feel like God had his, like you said, had his hand on our head.
Yeah, he was watching over us, all of us.
How did you become the treasurer for OCP? Tell me that story.
I missed a meeting and I was voted in.
Well, elaborate a little bit.
I actually don't know, I don't really know exactly how that happened. Somehow somebody told Chuck that I'm an analyst, and it spiraled from there.
But are you glad you...
Absolutely, I'm happy to help out.
So how did the Sunday school program start?
Well, on our last OCP meeting, we were discussing about starting a new parish, and during the whole meeting, Mike Petrogeorge kept nudging me, because we had been texting the week before about we need to start a youth program, we need to have a Sunday school, and we were the two that had young families in the group. And I said, I know, when it gets to that point, we'll figure it out. And so everyone was in a unanimous vote, let's start our own parish, and everyone immediately just jumped to their feet and started hugging and congratulating. And I remember going out in the middle of that table practically, and I'm like, stop. I'm like, wait, you guys, we need a Sunday school program. We're not going to be able to get the younger group there. And I remember Bill Subal looked at me and he said, how much do you need? And I was, me? Why do I need it? But at that point, everyone knew I had helped Hadios for the past 3 years with Prophet Elias's program, and so it was a natural fit for me to start this program.
So I can't remember if it was Kim Malice or Harry Hillis that asked me if I wanted to teach Sunday school, or maybe it was my dad. I don't even remember. I just have always liked working with kids. I've worked with teenagers for the past 8 years in different camps. So I felt like I would be a good fit for it. So there I was with Harry teaching Sunday school. Harry and Rachel.
So what other stories? Did you guys ever get in trouble for goofing off back there?
He did. No, I didn't, because we had altar serve for training, and we served the day before, and Father Dimitri mentioned that he was goofing off.
Oh my gosh. He heard me laughing because I was the only person he could see. Zachary was laughing back there too.
My favorite color is pink.
Pink, okay. And what do you guys think of the new church?
It's great.
Do you guys, what's your favorite thing about it?
Greek dancing.
Greek dancing, like to Greek dance? What about you?
My favorite color is pink and purple.
Pink and purple? Very nice.
The
Parish.
people.
The people.
Of course, the religion. It's just, it's so
Well,
holy
a
in
place
here.
to worship, yeah, it's that, but it's also the camaraderie in the people
Absolutely.
that have really made it for us. The sense of belonging that we did not have before when we went to church. So much.
Favorite thing? Well, I can't pinpoint one of them. I think everything, every time I walk in here, it's like sheer joy. I'm home. The joy that knowing here is a building that was open to us by the Catholics. I got to know the priests here. I also felt the camaraderie. So again, just to talk with the people. After liturgy, as soon as I can, I get out there and I'm just bombarded or overcome by all the women, everyone, actually, not only the women, everyone. They're concerned about my health, my food, am I comfortable? It's just, I was taken care of.
So I make costumes for work, for film, and Kim had asked me, Kim Malice, to do some costumes for the Christmas pageant. And naturally, as a procrastinator, I put it off until the night before. And she called me and needed 4 more masks than had originally been planned. So I made them because that's what I do. It's not hard for me to make costumes. They were super cute little felt masks. And the kids were these little animals from the storybook. It was adorable. I can't remember, was it Chase? Chase played the fox. And anyway, it was a super cute little pageant. I don't know what else to say about it.
It built a lot of camaraderie. There was work going on all day and night. I remember finishing the tile soleil with my brother about 4:30 in the morning so that the carpet layers could come the next day. It all took shape. My lovely wife Goldie, she worked very diligently to find beautiful iconography to go on the walls and found a way to put stained glass mimicking film on the windows, and it's turned this warehouse into a beautiful place of Orthodox worship.
I just love the feeling when I step into the church, and it's just such a warm embrace of everybody and God coming together. Just makes me so happy.
And meeting all these people and the YAL group and everything was just awesome for me in Salt Lake. So that was my favorite part.
You might notice that the uniqueness of our parish is that our pews fill up from the front, back.
Where do you foresee the parish in 5 to 10 years? Future of the parish?
Well, our parish is going to explode. It already is.
This parish will grow, it will thrive, we will go through growing pains. We've had surprisingly little of that over the last year. The rapidity with which we've developed in the last year, if that's any indication about what's going to happen, we're going to explode at the seams and be looking for property and looking for a location sometime in the next few years. And I believe that's going to be really soon. So in 10 years, I think we will be a large enough parish that we have our own place, we have our own church, we have our own facility and location, and we've already started another Orthodox mission. I sincerely believe that.
I see the growth here that we'll probably be here for at least 2 to 3 years, maybe more. But as the numbers grow, I've suggested that our growth be very simple. Take it one step at a time like a little child. Don't worry about building a beautiful edifice. Build your community first. Grow. And love one another. I think that's my goal for this parish.
And what'll happen is we're going to grow explosively. What we need to do is make sure we keep the spirit where everybody is needed and can be involved, feels productive, feels part of the parish. That has to be maintained. That's the core of what we have created. So when we get bigger, and when we get too big, it's time to split again, and split in harmony. Start a new parish that can go do a little bit different than we're doing, so it appeals to another section of people who are out searching.
So use one word to describe this parish.
Just outstanding. Just outstanding. It's so nice. And you know what? And you'll learn this too eventually. I think that one day you might even get married. But as long as your wife is happy, then you're happy. And she is just so happy with our parish.
Well, I'm going to have to use 3 words. To me, the church is the body of Christ. And that presence is felt in our worship and all of our interactions and fellowship.
Community.
One word, sanctuary.
Love.
Love. Very nice.
This parish, I just look at what has transpired over the last year, and I've told everybody this. It is just absolutely miraculous.
I think a good word for a parish, it's a common word, but I think it's a good one, is joyful. The church defines joy as a constant contentment rather than a momentary impassioned happiness that doesn't last very long. And with our parish, it's always just everybody's there and they're very happy to be there, and we're all together in our happiness. And it's not a momentary thing because it's centered on Christ. So it's a very joyful place to be.
It would definitely be family, Orthodox family. I have family here in Buffalo. I have family in Salt Lake now. And the Mission Parish is a true representation of that Orthodoxy.
One word to describe our parish. In my typical fashion, one word won't work. I would say that harmony is the key word, but harmony is achieved through serenity and tranquility, which we have in abundance. And it's all Christ-centered. So, if it's one word, I'll take harmony.
I pray that my leadership here helped everyone to grow. I pray that they found their peace and their faith back. I think that was the joy, and the most important thing for me was to give them back their faith. This is their church. They are the church. I'm just a servant of that church. And I hope that I was able to serve them as best I know how.
Peace. Peace. We're at peace.